My brothers and my sisters, let me take you back for a moment. Imagine a land where the children went to bed with empty stomachs, where mothers carried water for miles because the taps had run dry, where fathers worked the soil only to see their harvest rot on the roadside, while foreign ships sold the same food back to them at triple the price. That land is not a faraway story. It is Burkina Faso, the very heart of West Africa. For decades, this nation was written off, dismissed as poor, forgotten, dependent. But God has a way of raising the humble, of turning what the world rejected into a cornerstone. And so, when Captain Ibrahim Traore stepped forward, he did not just rise as a man, he rose carrying the hopes of a people. He rose saying, "No more begging, no more waiting, no more chains. We will build with our own hands on our own land." That declaration was not just words, it was a covenant. Out of that covenant have come not one, not two, but 10 mighty projects, 10 foundations that are shaking the ground of Burkina Faso and calling the world to attention. Stay with me, because today we will walk through Ibrahim Traore's 10 projects, a journey of faith, struggle, and resurrection. And as we travel, ask yourself this: could these same lessons light a fire for all of Africa and even challenge the very West that once held Africa down? Before we dive in, make sure you subscribe to this channel because together we are lifting up the stories that the world tried to bury. My friends, let us start at the beginning. For years, Burkina Faso was described with one word: dependence. Dependence on foreign food, dependence on foreign roads, dependence on foreign power. It was a land that produced much but owned little. Farmers would bend their backs under the hot Sahel sun, only to watch their tomatoes rot in baskets while European supermarkets sold those same tomatoes back as paste, 3 times the price. Mothers saw the sweat of their labor turn into waste while foreign companies counted the profit. That is the pain of dependency. That is the curse of exploitation. But then came a new chapter, and it began not with gold, not with diamonds, but with a fruit: the tomato processing plant. Built with $8 million of state-backed investment, not foreign charity, this factory was more than bricks and steel. It was a declaration: produce what you eat what you grow. With every ton of tomato turned into paste, money that once drained overseas now stayed in the land of the people. 150 jobs, yes, but more than that. Farmers with dignity, young technicians with purpose, families with security. The plant is not just a machine. It is a weapon of sovereignty. And it tells the world, Burkina Faso will no longer beg for its daily bread. Yet, food without movement is still trapped. The people asked, how will our goods reach the world? How will our produce find its way to the sea? And the answer came in concrete and asphalt. The Bobo Dioulasso Ivory Coast Highway. $120 million to carve a corridor straight from the fields of Burkina Faso to the Atlantic shore. No more being landlocked, no more waiting on French-controlled routes to the north. This road is not vanity. It is a vein pumping lifeblood into the economy. Along its length, villages are rising, markets are opening, jobs are multiplying. And for the first time, the flow of goods is not dictated by outsiders. It is commanded by Burkina Faso itself. A highway of freedom, mile after mile. But what is food without power? What is a road without light? My brothers and sisters, to build a nation, you must first turn the lights on. And so came the boldest vision yet: Yellen's solar power. Over 150 villages, over 300,000 souls, seeing electricity for the very first time. Not diesel from abroad, not fragile grids built by foreigners, but pure African sunlight harnessed by local hands. Picture a rural clinic where vaccines no longer spoil, a school where lessons continue after sundown, a small shopkeeper who can refrigerate goods, extend hours, and dream bigger than ever before. Yellen is not just energy, it is liberation. Liberation from oil bills, from blackouts, from the chokehold of imported power. And with every solar panel installed, with every switch flicked, a new generation is trained, not only to consume power, but to engineer it, to expand it, to own it. This is not charity. This is a movement. And it tells the world that light has returned to Burkina Faso. Not borrowed light, but light born of its own skies. Yes, my friends, tomatoes turned into wealth. Roads turned into veins of freedom, sunlight turned into energy of liberation. The ground beneath Burkina Faso is shifting. But let me ask you this: what use is food if the body is weak? What use is light if the sick cannot rise from their beds? A nation cannot stand unless its people are healed. My brothers and sisters, after the food and the power, after the road that leads to the sea, there comes the question of life itself. For what use is a nation if its people perish? What use is sovereignty if mothers die in childbirth? If children waste away for lack of care? If a fever can carry a family to the grave? A strong country begins with strong people. And in Burkina Faso, that strength is being built brick by brick, ward by ward, in a place where medicine has become the new temple of sovereignty. The Bobo Dioulasso Regional University Hospital. Not just a building, not just another clinic, but a symbol of a nation refusing to send its sick across borders. Rising from the red earth of the Southwest, this hospital is designed to be among the most advanced in the land. Surgical units gleam with new instruments. Digital systems hum with the power of Yellen's solar grids. Ambulance routes stretch outward, binding the countryside to this new center of healing. And most importantly, classrooms inside these walls are training young men and women to become doctors, nurses, healers of their own people. For decades, the sick had to beg, travel, or die. Now healing is coming home. Mothers no longer fear the journey to the capital. Children no longer depend on outdated clinics. This hospital is not a gift from outsiders, it is a covenant with the people. Captain Traoré's vision is clear. If you want to build a strong country, you start by keeping its people alive, educated, and close to home. But my friends, health is more than medicine. A doctor's hand cannot heal if there is no water to cleanse it. A hospital cannot function if the taps run dry. A city cannot live if its wells go empty. And so the next foundation rose, the Ziga 2 Dam. Water is life. In Ouagadougou, the capital swelling with hope, water shortages had become a daily curse. Families walked miles with jerry cans. Hospitals rationed. Businesses stalled. The promise of tomorrow cracked under the weight of empty taps. But with Ziga 2, that era is ending. This dam is more than concrete. It is a promise. It gathers the rain, secures the rivers, and releases a steady, clean stream into the veins of the city. Paired with solar-powered pumping stations and modern filtration, Ziga 2 is designed not just to deliver water, but to deliver dignity. Imagine a child turning a tap and watching clean water flow, not once a week, not once a day, but every time. Imagine a hospital running without fear of shortage. Imagine farmers drawing from reliable sources to irrigate their crops. And what makes this project holy is not just the engineering. It is the principle, water for people, not for profit. For too long, water was a commodity sold at a price the poor could not afford. Now it is a right secured by national will. With energy from the sun and water from its land, Burkina Faso is rewriting the covenant of survival. But even water cannot shelter you from the storm if you have no roof over your head. Even a full belly cannot give rest if your children sleep in shacks. And so came the next vision, the Faso Mayo Housing Project. This is not charity housing. This is not a scheme for elites. This is a blueprint for a new Burkina Faso. 50,000 new residential units crafted with local materials, raised by local hands. Not just houses, but homes. Homes for teachers, for nurses, for workers who have too long been priced out of decent shelter. Streets wide enough for markets. Playgrounds for children. Clinics and schools woven into the very fabric of these neighborhoods. No more sprawling slums where rain becomes flood and disease follows. No more separation between the rich in mansions and the poor in mud. Faso Mayo is not just about bricks, it is about dignity. It turns construction into employment. It turns laborers into builders of their own destiny. It gives a mother the joy of locking her own door, a father the peace of knowing his family sleeps safe, a child the memory of growing in a neighborhood designed with love. Do you see the pattern, my friends? Food to eat, power to light, roads to move, hospitals to heal, water to drink, homes to live. One by one, the foundations of dependency are crumbling. One by one, the pillars of sovereignty are rising. But let me tell you, a house, a road, a hospital, these things give comfort, yes. They give strength, yes. But without one thing, they can crumble like sand in the wind. Without control of money, without a bank that serves the people, without a financial heart that beats for the nation, all else is at risk. And so the question comes, who holds the keys to wealth in Burkina Faso? The answer will shake the ground. My brothers and sisters, we have walked together through fields of tomatoes, along highways of freedom, under the light of solar skies, into hospitals of healing, and beside the flowing streams of Ziga. We have stepped into homes where dignity is restored. But now we must ask, what good is all this if the wealth of the nation still flows out through foreign banks? For decades, the financial veins of Burkina Faso were tied to international banks. Banks that served the elite. Banks that looked at the poor and saw only risk. Banks that ignored the farmer in the village, the mother in the market, the youth with a dream but no collateral. Wealth leaked like water through cracked jars, pouring into foreign hands. But hear me now, that story is ending. With Burkina Bank, Burkina Faso has built its first state-owned financial fortress, a bank designed not to profit from its citizens but to empower them. This is not theory, it is practice. Farmers can now secure loans to expand their herds or buy machinery. Women can access microcredit to grow their businesses. Families can save without traveling for days. Youth can start enterprises without begging foreign investors. And let me tell you, this bank is not just a vault of money. It is a tool of justice. Tailored mortgages connect directly with the Faso Mayo Housing Project. Agricultural cooperatives are financed as a group, lifting entire communities instead of a single individual. Mobile banking spreads deep into the villages with services in local languages, making sure no one is left behind. For the first time, the financial system of Burkina Faso beats in rhythm with its people. That, my friends, is sovereignty in action. That is wealth refusing to leak. But sovereignty cannot end with money. In this age, true power flows through fiber optic cables, through digital records, through data that can be either owned or stolen. Without control of information, a nation can be strong in body but weak in soul. And so Captain Traoré turned to the future with the Piacide Digital Transformation Project. Picture this: two massive national data centers rising like citadels. These are not just storage facilities. They are fortresses of identity, keeping government records, financial transactions, medical files, school enrollments, land titles, all under Burkina Faso control. No longer will a citizen's future be held hostage by foreign servers or foreign surveillance. But the project goes further. With Pact Digital, the government itself is transforming. Imagine applying for an identity card from your phone, registering land without bribes, enrolling your child in school without queuing for hours. The paper chains of bureaucracy are breaking. Corruption is losing its hiding places. And it does not stop at government. Coverage is expanding to 500 underserved localities. Villages once isolated are now connected. Youth are being trained in digital literacy, women are learning e-commerce, small businesses are reaching wider markets. From the Sahel's dusty villages to the new urban hubs, a digital economy is being born. But my brothers and sisters, let us pause. With all this progress, a question rises like thunder. Can technology alone save a nation? Will servers and software erase hunger? Will fiber optics stop the thirst of a child? Will online banking replace the need for clean water, safe streets, and fertile soil? The truth is clear. Digital power is mighty, but it cannot stand alone. A people may log on, but if their stomachs are empty, what is gained? A nation may store data, but if their children fall ill from dirty water, what is progress? So the journey continues. Beyond banks, beyond data, beyond servers, to the ground beneath our feet, to the streams and the livestock, to the very basics of life itself. Because, my friends, you can digitize the government, you can build a bank of your own, you can raise towers of data, but if your people still wake each morning without water, without food, the revolution remains unfinished. And that is why the next chapter is about to shake us even deeper. For the story now turns to the most essential resources of all, clean water and daily bread. My friends, we have spoken of banks and of data, of the invisible veins of finance and the silent flow of information. But now we return to what is most visible, most urgent, most human, water and food. Because no government, no technology, no project of steel or silicon can stand if the people are still thirsty, if the people are still hungry. And so came the Urban Water Project. Backed by the will of the nation, supported by careful partnerships, this project has already delivered clean piped water to over 600,000 people. Imagine the relief. Mothers no longer carrying heavy jerry cans for miles. Children drinking without fear of disease. Schools and clinics with working taps at last. Sanitation, too, is being reborn. Latrines, drainage systems, waste treatment plants. The dirty water that once carried sickness is being replaced by systems that protect life. What makes this different from the so-called donor projects of the past is that it is not a stopgap, not a handout, not a patch. It is part of a national strategy, a covenant that says clean water and sanitation are not privileges, they are rights. And with digital monitoring, citizens themselves can report outages, track payments, and demand accountability. In the heart of Africa, water is no longer just flowing from taps. It is flowing from the very will of the people. Now, beyond water lies another treasure, one that walks on four legs. In rural Burkina Faso, wealth is not measured in bank accounts, it grazes in the fields. Livestock is inheritance, currency, and power. For too long, this sector was neglected, left to disease, waste, and weak markets. But no longer. The Livestock Development Project is transforming tradition into strategy. Veterinary care spreads across provinces. Vaccination drives save herds. Mobile teams carry medicine where once there was only loss. New facilities process milk, meat, and hides. No longer raw exports, but finished products ready for markets at home and abroad. Cold storage, feed production, and credit through Burkina Bank are turning herders into entrepreneurs, women into business leaders, and goats and cattle into engines of growth. And this, my friends, is where the world must pay attention. For too long, the West looked at Africa as a place of famine, of drought, of charity. But now projects like these are showing another face: resilience, strategy, sovereignty. While the economies of Europe struggle, while divisions shake the United States, a small nation once dismissed as forgotten is building. Quietly, steadily, boldly. So I ask you, what happens when Burkina Faso succeeds? What happens when the world sees not a victim but a model? What happens when the student becomes the teacher, when the forgotten becomes the guide? I tell you this, the answer is not just for Burkina Faso. If one nation can break free from chains of dependency, then a whole continent can rise. But the question remains, if a small, landlocked country can do this, what path lies ahead for the rest of Africa? My brothers and sisters, let us take a step back. Look at what has been built. A tomato plant that turned waste into wealth. A highway that opened the sea. Solar panels that lit the night. A hospital that healed the forgotten. A dam that brought water to the thirsty. Homes that gave families dignity. A bank that served the poor. Data centers that secured the nation's future. Urban pipelines that carried life. Livestock projects that turned tradition into prosperity. 10 projects. 10 foundations. 10 pillars of sovereignty. Together they form not just infrastructure, not just policy, but a declaration. Burkina Faso will no longer live on its knees. And yet when we see this, our hearts are stirred in three ways. First comes the anger. Anger at the decades wasted, the chains of dependency, the humiliation of importing food while fields lay full, of begging for aid while wealth was stolen. We must not forget that pain, for it is the soil from which the new strength has grown. Then comes the sorrow. Sorrow for the generations who never saw these changes, who died thirsty, who lived without light, who were told that Africa could never stand. The tears of our ancestors still water this ground. We grieve their loss even as we build for their children's children. And finally comes the hope. Hope blazing like the Sahel sun. Hope that if Burkina Faso can do this, then so can Mali, so can Ghana, so can Nigeria, so can the whole of Africa. Hope that independence is not just a flag or an anthem, but food, water, light, and dignity for every soul. But let us be clear, this journey is not complete. 10 projects are not the end, they are the beginning. The road ahead is still long. There will be resistance, there will be pressure, there will be voices from outside telling Africa to stay in its place. Yet the truth has been revealed. The power to rise is already here in our hands, in our land. So the question we must carry with us is this: will the rest of Africa follow? Will the people of the continent take courage from Burkina Faso's example and break their own chains? This is not just about one nation. It is about a movement, a rising, a great awakening. And as we turn to the conclusion, we must ask ourselves, if this is only the beginning, then what vision waits beyond the horizon for Africa and for the world? My brothers and sisters, we have walked a long road together. We have stood in the fields where tomatoes once rotted and watched them turn into gold. We have traveled highways of freedom, lit lamps in villages long forgotten, and stepped into hospitals where healing is no longer a dream but a reality. We have seen water flow where there was only thirst, and families move into homes built not for profit, but for dignity. We have opened the vaults of a people's own bank, stepped into data fortresses where sovereignty is secured, and watched livestock, once neglected, become engines of prosperity. These are not isolated projects. These are 10 stones laid into the foundation of a nation rising. Ibrahim Traore's 10 projects are not just policy, they are prophecy. They proclaim that Africa is not weak, not helpless, not dependent, but capable of shaping its own destiny. So I ask you now, what do these projects mean for the rest of the world? For the West, they are a mirror. While economies stumble in Europe and division deepens in America, a so-called poor nation is proving that vision, courage, and faith can build something new. For Africa, they're a trumpet call. The sound of one country declaring, "We will no longer be defined by what was taken from us, but by what we build with our own hands." This is more than Burkina Faso development. This is a movement for all who have been overlooked, underestimated, dismissed. It is a blueprint for independence that does not beg, but creates. That does not wait, but acts. That does not imitate, but leads. And so I leave you with this question. If Burkina Faso can rise, what excuse remains for any of us to stay down? If this message has touched you, if you believe our stories deserve to be told, then subscribe to this channel. Share this video. Let the world hear the voice that was silenced for too long. Because together we are not just watching history, we are making it. Ibrahim Traore's 10 projects are not the end. They are the beginning. The dawn of a new Africa. The awakening of a people who have found their power again. And my brothers and sisters, the best is yet to come.